He gave them everything: his strength, his years, his silence. And when they had taken all of it, they called him useless and threw him away. His name was Dara. He was the great ox of the royal kingdom, the strongest creature in the court, the one who pulled the grain carts at harvest, carried the stones that built the palace walls, and plowed the royal fields every season without complaint. For 12 years, Dara served. Every morning before anyone else was awake, he was already in the field. Every evening after everyone had gone to sleep, he was still pulling. He never refused a load. He never stopped halfway. He never asked for more than a bucket of water and a handful of hay. The king called him the jewel of the court. The ministers praised his strength. Even the palace children would pet his great dark nose and say he was the gentlest giant they had ever known. Dara asked for nothing. He expected nothing. That was his only mistake. The first betrayal came from the minister of grain. After years of Dara pulling his harvest carts, the minister stood before the king and said, "The ox is slowing down, Your Majesty. I have seen it myself. He is no longer the animal he once was." It was a lie. Dara had not slowed, but the minister had purchased 2 younger oxen from a merchant in the east and wanted Dara replaced so he could sell the old yoke for silver. The king, who trusted his minister, nodded slowly. "Then let him rest," he said, and Dara was removed from the harvest work. The second betrayal came from the palace steward. He had promised Dara, in the wordless way one promises a loyal animal, that as long as the palace stood, Dara would have shelter and food. But when the court treasurer looked for places to cut costs, the steward pointed at Dara's stable first. "He does nothing now," said the steward. "Why feed an ox that does not work?" The stable was taken. Dara was moved to the outer yard. Cold stone, no roof, no shelter. The third betrayal was the cruelest. It came from the king himself. A visiting noble from a distant kingdom looked at Dara standing in the outer yard and said to the king, "That is a fine-looking ox, strong bones, good size. I could use him on my land." The king thought for only a moment. Then he said, "Take him. He is yours." Just like that. 12 years. And the king traded him away like a piece of old furniture he no longer needed. That night, Dara stood alone in the cold outer yard. The palace lights burned warmly behind him. He had helped build those walls. He had pulled the stones that held those windows. He looked at the palace, and the palace did not look back. A small voice could have asked, "Why did I stay loyal? Why did I give everything to people who gave nothing back? What was the point of all those years?" But Dara did not ask that question, not because he was too simple to feel it, because he was too wise to be destroyed by it. He lowered his great head. He breathed slowly, and he thought of something that none of the ministers, none of the stewards, none of the king's advisors had ever understood about him. His loyalty was never for them. It was for himself. It was the only thing in the world that was completely, entirely his own, that no king could take, no minister could sell, no steward could remove. They had taken his work, his shelter, his place. But they could not take who he was while he did all of it. The season after Dara was sent away, the kingdom struggled. The 2 younger oxen the minister had bought refused to work together. They were fast but undisciplined, breaking yokes, scattering grain, stopping in the middle of the field without reason. The harvest was poor. The palace walls that Dara had never finished building began to crack at the corners. The final stones never laid, the final sections never reinforced. And in the great hall, the king sat quietly one evening and realized he had not heard the steady, rhythmic pull of the great cart since the morning Dara left. He asked his steward, "Whatever happened to the old ox?" The steward shifted uncomfortably. "You gave him away, Your Majesty, to the visiting noble." The king said nothing, stared at his hands. Meanwhile, in the fields of the distant noble's estate, Dara worked. He pulled the same loads. He rose before sunrise. He never stopped halfway. The noble's farmhands watched him with wide eyes. "Where did this animal come from?" they asked. "From a king," said the noble, "who did not know what he had." Within 2 seasons, that estate was the most productive in the entire region, not because Dara was given anything new, but because for the first time in 12 years, someone noticed. Maybe you have been Dara. Maybe you gave years of your loyalty to a job, a relationship, a person. And one day, they looked at you the way the king looked at that ox and said, simply, "I don't need this anymore." And the most painful part was not even the betrayal itself. It was the silence after. The realization that they moved on without missing a single thing you gave. Here is the truth that Dara knew, and the king never learned. Loyalty is not a transaction. You do not give it to receive it back. You give it because of who you are, not because of who they are. The ones who betray loyal people do not win. They simply reveal themselves. And the ones who stay loyal through betrayal, through being replaced, through being traded away like old furniture, they carry something inside them that no one can take. A dignity, a wholeness, the knowledge that their hands were always clean. The king lost more than an ox that day. He lost the proof that he was worth being loyal to. So if someone has betrayed your loyalty, do not become someone who stops being loyal. Become someone who is more careful about who deserves it. Tell me in the comments, have you ever given your loyalty to someone who did not deserve it? And did it make you bitter? Or did it make you wiser? Because I believe the ones watching this right now are the Daras of this world, and the world needs you exactly as you are.